There's a saying that they say, if you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go together. Today, we're going to be unraveling the number one secret to dropshipping success. And no, it's not the products that you sell. We're going to be diving into, for both Lewis and I, what was the main reason why we believe our dropshipping businesses were a success. And I can't wait to really dive into this today with you, Lewis. So perhaps you've been thinking about which trending products to sell or tweaking your website in a certain way that will open the floodgates to sales. In fact, it's neither of those options. So let's dive in, Lewis. First of all, what do you think is the biggest misconception when beginners first get into dropshipping?
Yeah, I think many people come into this, and including myself initially, thinking that it's about the right products to sell, or it's having, a flashy website with a great theme, like that'll be the key to success. But if you think of it this way, having a great product without having the right guidance or the right strategy, it's kind of like you own a supercar, you own a Ferrari without knowing how to drive it. It's kind of worthless in that sense. It's pointless. Now, of course, there'll still be value to having the right product itself, but without the right blueprint or strategy, without knowing how to drive, then you are very limited in the enjoyment or the utility you can get out of the product. So in reality, having a community and a mentor as well accelerates that learning. And I guess what it does is reduces the common pitfalls that you'll go through, because usually the community and the mentor will have experienced those things already and can forewarn you about the things that you don't yet know, right? The unknown unknowns. There's a saying that they say, if you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go together. So the journey of dropshipping is definitely best undertaken with guidance and a supporting community. We see it time and time again.
And that's the feedback we get from lots of members. And it's certainly the case in my own story. So I first started with just watching YouTube videos, which is well documented in previous episodes. And you get a superficial knowledge of what you need to do. But the community aspect that we're going to dive into today gives you the backing. So when things go wrong, when you've got obstacles and difficult hurdles to overcome, you've got somebody else there in your corner. So when we consider community, what do you think is its true value within the realm of dropshipping?
Yeah, I mean, you could go much deeper than this, couldn't you? And look at the value of community and tribalism as a species, as humanity, if you want to really zoom out and get quite meta with it. But community itself is the lifeline of any business, but it's also the lifeline of how we as humans operate. So it's no different in business or in dropshipping, And there was a TV show, I'm sure many people will have seen it, called Alone, which is really interesting. And I was watching it the other day, and it's where the contestants are kind of put out into the Canadian wilderness with given basic tools, but they are on their own, like each person's individually on their own. And they face that unpredictability and the challenges similar to like we do in entrepreneurship, right? Where we're going through it and initially we're on our own, like you said, you're looking at YouTube and thinking, okay, I've got to navigate this world of the wilderness of entrepreneurship on my own. But the thing that happens in that show, which is interesting, is they have some initial success. So as they become better with tools, they seem to initially they start to thrive, and they're like, yeah, I can do this. I've caught a fish, or I've like built myself a little den. And it's the same in business. Like, oh, I've made a few sales. Like, this stuff works. And in a sense, that's good because it kind of gives them that early lead. But then isolation starts to take its toll, and you see that after a while of watching them in the wilderness, despite the tools and the skills that they have, many on that show, it's the mentality, it's the mental load of isolation, solitude, and kind of second guessing and questioning, like, what's going on? Will I ever get out of here? That's what takes its toll. And it's so true in entrepreneurship as well. You could have a great few months, you could make some sales, you could sign some suppliers and be like, I'm doing this. And then you realize, but who do I tell? Or who can I ask questions to? Or what if this happens? Or what? And you start having these like repeating questions happening in your mind. So it's no different from that. But it's like contestant on a show like that faring better in a supportive tribe. Imagine if they said, right, you're going in as a group of 10. The entrepreneurs excel with peers who offer feedback, just like humans excel in those tribal situations as well. So yeah, try and thrive with a community, because yes, the right tools might set you apart, but a strong community gives you the not just survival ability, but also to really thrive. And, whether that's in wild terrains or in the business landscape as an entrepreneur. So it's just making sure that you've got that peer-to-peer feedback and that real-time support. Share their experiences, learn from their mistakes. They'll often offer you solutions to problems that not only you may not have encountered, but you might not even realize will ever become problems. And so our community's had so many examples of members helping other people within that community either pivot slightly or adapt their strategies, and it just makes it such a dynamic learning environment. So don't work alone in isolation. Don't be one of those contestants on the game show that gives up because eventually you realize the toll of solitude and isolation makes you, join a community, join a tribe. It's one of the biggest advantages, and it's leaning into the way we as humans have evolved, right?
Exactly. And it's just so much more enjoyable as well. Not to mention all of the fact that you learn quicker and you've got a supportive tribe around you. It's a lot more enjoyable when you can share your successes with other people, and also share times when it hasn't gone quite well as well with other people, and they can bring you up until you are back on the right track. But I like what you said there about there being a bit of a lag period. And I agree with that. Interesting that we noticed it from people that go out and try and survive in the wild. There's a lag period when you first go out on your own, and it's probably the same. If anything, you can, you start really fast on your own. But there's a lag period before it really kicks in the drawbacks and the downsides of having nobody else around you. It takes a bit of time for you to realize that. It certainly did in my own story when I started dropshipping through YouTube content. I got started, I had a business set up within a week or two. But it wasn't until a month down the line, when things were going wrong and the sales weren't there, that's when you really feel the effects, and there's nobody to turn to ask for help. So it's important to have people around you, but I think also the right people around you. You could have a community, all your neighbors, everyone on your street, and you could be telling them about the business landed in yourself and started. But if they haven't got any direct business sort of experience themselves, then you might not be preaching to the right crowd. So how important is it, Lewis, to not only have a community, but have a mentorship community that also are doing the same sort of, going after the same goals that you have?
Yeah, I believe it's vitally important. And the reason for that is, if you imagine that you're watching a movie in a foreign language, right, without subtitles, it's a language that you're not fluent in, you don't understand. Well, the information is there, it's being provided to you, just not in a format that you understand and can comprehend and can use. A mentor or a community kind of acts like those subtitles that get put on that movie. It translates the complex world of dropshipping, this language that you may not yet understand, into relatable terms. So I believe it's really important to have not just one mentor, but lots of mentors. I've got mentors in several areas of my life, whether that's for health or happiness or business or strictly finances, how to manage finances, but also for, family as well, and balancing that work-life balance. So yeah, I think a mentor with their own experiences can often foresee challenges and give you actionable solutions. And I know personally, during the initial days of my journey, when I first started, my mentors provided me not just the kind of tactical, like step-by-step advice, but it was that emotional support as well. It was that, like, there's a light at the end of the tunnel. What you're doing will eventually work. Like, have faith, continue operating the way you are, and you will get there. And just ensuring that I never felt alone in that journey. It was vital having that community and that mentorship around that area of my life, particularly in the early days of business. Yeah.
And it's easy to neglect the emotional support. I think before you first get started, you think, I can handle that. If anything like me, you're just looking for the tactical support. You're just looking for the exact step-by-step guide. You almost neglect the emotional support. And it's like when you go through that arc of learning new skills, the first thing you need is just the tactical support. You need to be told exactly what to do. But when you get a little bit further down that arc of learning, you still need the tactical support because you're still new to it, but then you need the emotional support when things don't quite go to plan, or when things haven't quite turned out, or there's been a little bit of a hiccup along the way. So that emotional support, again, is something you might overlook. And that's perhaps why we don't see the community as valuable as it is until you've gone a little bit further down the line.